What's up? It's Zoom and Zach talking about all things real estate, business, and personal development. And today we're going to have our second episode of our first series ever, teaching you how to buy your first or your next home. Now, throughout this entire series, we're going to be taking the home buying process and we're going to cut it up into bite-sized pieces for your understanding. Now, today we're going to talk about what are the best, greatest questions to ask every lender so that you can pre-qualify these lenders to make sure they're a good fit for you. Now, the first question that comes to mind is, what's the best type of loan for you? Now, in my last video, we discussed some of the best options for first-time home buyers, which are FHAs, VAs, conventional loans, and USDA loans. But these loans are not all equal. In fact, they serve different clients very differently. For example, FHA loans are especially good for people that have low credit scores. So, keep in mind that when you ask this question, they're going to be asking about your credit score, they're going to be asking about your finances, they're going to ask for different documents like pay stubs and things like that so that they can get a full picture of what your financial situation is so that way they can serve you the best way possible. Now, the second question you're going to ask is, how much of a down payment do you need? Now, this is where you're going to have to identify if the lender is really trying to serve you. You need to be upfront with them and tell them how much you can afford to pay. Now, for a lot of lenders, 20% it's ideal, and sometimes they'll try to offer you better terms for these situations, but again, this is when you have to be square with them and tell them what works well for you and what you're comfortable paying and still having enough reserves to cover your family, to cover your baseline, so that way you don't get yourself in trouble. Now, question number 3 is, what is your annual percentage rate or APR? Now, keep in mind, your APR is not exactly the same thing as an interest rate. Your APR sometimes includes fees like brokerage fees, includes closing costs, rebates, and discount points. Now, then you want to ask, does your APR, the number that you're giving me, does it include discount points? Discount points are upfront fees that are paid to lower your overall interest rate. So let's go through a scenario. The average home price or home sale is $350,000. So for this example, your first scenario is going to be where you put 2% down or 2 discount points so that you can lower your interest rate to 3%. In scenario number 2, you're going to pay no discount points and you're going to pay 3.5% interest over the lifeline of a 30-year loan or 30-year amortization. So let's say at the end of 30 years, how much interest are you going to pay for number 1? For number 1, you're going to pay nearly $181,000 in interest over the lifeline of a 30-year loan. Now, number 2, with a slightly higher interest rate, you're going to pay $216,000 in interest. So you can see why this is a difference for people that, for example, if you're buying your forever home, you may want to put down discount points. Now, keep in mind, a discount point, a point is just equal to 1% of the loan. So for that example, scenario number 1, you'd pay $81,000 in interest, plus you'd pay, if you had 100% financing, you'd pay another $7,000, and that would be paid upfront at closing. Okay? Now, the fourth question you want to ask them is, are you doing a hard credit check on me today?
I'm for real, so you better check yourself.
This is very important because when lenders are going to pull your credit report and pull all this information, it's actually going to have a negative effect on your credit score. And this is something that's called a hard inquiry or hard check. Now, keep in mind, this is especially important to ask if you're going to be shopping around for lenders, because you want to keep these all together within the same week or so, because when you do several hard inquiries over the month or 2 months, it's going to have a longer lasting negative effect on your credit. So you want to really minimize that effect by having them closer together and having those hard checks done, again, closer together. Now, number 5, how much can you afford? Now, they should explain something called DTI, or debt to income ratio, which is plainly your monthly debts divided by your monthly gross income. So for example, some lenders, they allow a max of 43% debt to income. So if you have lots of monthly debts and then receiving a mortgage puts you over the 43%, you may not qualify. Now, the 6th question you want to ask them is, do you have an origination fee? Now, this is often referred to as points, but they're not the same as things as discount points. They're just often plainly referred to as points, which can be really confusing. But this is the fee that the lender charges for originating the loan. Now, just like we talked about earlier, 1 point is actually equivalent to 1% of the loan. So for an example, let's say you buy a house for $100,000 and you decide to bring 20% down, which means that your loan is $80,000. So if you're gonna pay 2 points or 2 origination points, that would equal $1,600. Now, once you've asked them this, you want to follow up with what are your other lending fees? Because almost all lenders charge these kind of junk fees, but you want to make sure that you ask because you don't want them to get too excessive. They'll often label these junk fees as processing fees or whatever name they come up with as a way to kind of disguise it. And that's okay. But again, you don't want it to be too expensive and you want to make sure you ask up front what these fees are. Number 7, ask them, are there any other expected fees or closing costs? Other fees occur from third parties like an appraisal or a title search or even title insurance and things like that. You want to make sure these are outlined on your loan estimate. Now, number 8, lastly but not least, how long until my loan closes is what you should ask them. This will give you an idea of a timeline. Most will say anywhere from 30 to 45 days, depending on the market, depending on how busy things are. Now, I really hope this helped because our goal with this whole series is to help you to move forward with your next step with confidence. So thanks for watching. If you know somebody that's interested in buying their first house, make sure you send them this video. Help people to have confidence just like you do after watching this video of going to lenders and looking like a boss because you know all the right questions to ask and you know all the things to look for. So thanks for watching. My name is Zooming Zach, and if you haven't liked or subscribed, I don't know what you are doing. Go do that right now. Peace out. I'll see you guys on the next episode of Zooming Zach.